Welcome back to Clover's Corner. I'm Tahlia Heading, and this is a podcast where we talk about feelings, life, and pretty much anything. Clover was here a second ago, and once again, she is not on the podcast. So, that's a great start for episode 2. So, where have I been? Where haven't I been is more of a appropriate question, honestly. So, it's been like a month almost since the first episode of the podcast, and a lot has happened. I turned 25, which we can put in some congratulatory applause sounds right here. Yeah, actually, you know when people say, oh, do you feel different? Do you feel any older? Like, remember when you heard that as a kid? I actually do feel different, but I don't know if that's just because of the things that unfolded. Sorry, I'm just a bit... That better? Yeah, it's probably a bit better. But yeah, so I turned 25. It was a normal birthday. I got a tattoo the day after, which is for the listeners, not the viewers. It's a 2-headed cow. It's really cute. It's inspired by a... Sorry, I realised it wasn't near the microphone at all for that. For the listeners, it's a 2-headed cow, 2-headed calf. It's inspired by a poem by Laura Glipin. I'll link it in the description, because... Yeah, I think it's Laura Glipin, and it's called 2-headed calf, and it's basically the idea that a 2-headed calf has no idea that it's different in any way, and it doesn't bother him. And he goes on and lives his life. And yeah. Sorry, it's been a minute since I've done this, so I'm a bit like fidgety and stuff. But before I turned 25, some things transpired, let's say. So, I was playing with my mum's friend's cat called Al Pacino, which is kind of ironic. We'll get back to that. And we were playing, and it was all good, and he, gave me a few kitty cat scratches, but there was nothing really to be worried about until, days passing after. So, I had a few, bumps on my face. They were kind of like hives. I've got my notes of what happened day to day, so I'll bring that up as well. So yeah, 2 days before my birthday, I'm playing with the cat and I get scratched, but it's not anything to worry about. And then about, 3 or 4 days later, it was very raised and it started to get itchy. All on my hands where I'd been scratched, and on my face, which I hadn't been scratched, or the cat and I hadn't come in contact there, but it was weird. It looked just like a reaction I had to moisturizer in 2015, where I had to go on penicillin, and I'd never taken penicillin before, and I'm allergic to it, so I swelled right up. Kind of looked like that a little bit. And yeah, so went to the doctors and got some antibiotics, but foreshadowing, that didn't help. So it was itchy, and I thought that it was just reaction to the cat somehow. But then the day after antibiotics, there was coughing and sneezing, which felt just like hay fever. But then the next day, so we're almost 6 days after all of this has started. And it's getting harder and harder to breathe when I'm coughing. I can't catch my breath after. And it's getting a little annoying and a little bit scary, but I'm not too concerned. But then I was getting desperate, so then Sunday, so like exactly like a week after it had started, we're still dealing with this, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. So it's like beginning of the day, morning, and every time I'm coughing I can feel my throat getting tighter and tighter, and it's getting itchy, and it's like a itch you can't, because it's in my throat, nothing's relieving it. I've tried cough medicine, antihistamines and all that, and it was just like right in the middle of my throat, and coughing just made it drier. It's getting really itchy, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna call like on the phone doctor, you know, where you ask about symptoms and they tell you what to do. And because my voice was now like sounded completely different, they said you should call an ambulance. And I was like, oh shit, that's not good. So sorry, this cord looks interesting. Is it better like this or that? Let's just leave it like that. Okay, so yeah, I went to the closest hospital to me, and they were like, this is weird, the wait's really long, you should go to a priority clinic instead, because it's a Sunday. It's basically the only other option I had. So I went there, and the doctors were kind of flawed, to be honest, because they were like, cat scratch disease is not that uncommon. It's when your body reacts to whatever the cat has under its claws. You get an infected scratch, and that's kind of it. But they hadn't really heard of it affecting the throat before. They couldn't find any like research or articles about it. So I took some steroids and antibiotics and all that, and then they're like, go to the hospital. Go to this other hospital, we'll call and let them know you're coming. So Declan and I make our way to the hospital. I decided to just go by myself after being dropped off, because I knew it was going to be a long wait. So I'm in the waiting room, and they check my my pulse, and they give me some Panadol stuff and all that. It's about a 2-hour wait, but it's a lot better than what could have been. And so I get taken... So, hang on. So I arrived at the hospital at like 5. So about 7 p.m. I get into a room. If you haven't been into emergency, sometimes you get your own room, but this was like just sectioned off by curtains. So, I get there and the doctor's like, yeah, this is strange because it's only your hands where you've been scratched and your face where you haven't been scratched, and your throat and your voice sound really weird. So I got more steroids, more antibiotics, more of that stuff. And like it was slowly making its way better, and then they're like, this is pretty bad because now your lips are swollen. I'm gonna put photos on the screen if you want to see them. But so then they put an IV in and pumped me full of Benadryl, and you could see it in real time going down, which was crazy. So yeah, then they took my blood, which, if you've never had your blood taken, it already feels really warm and weird, but when you haven't eaten all day and you're having an allergic reaction, it feels like someone's taking the life force out of you. It's the only way I can describe it. Like, I felt like I was being turned off at the switch. And so I started moaning and making weird noises, and I got extremely clammy and sweaty all over. And they had to lie me down, and then it was okay within like 5 minutes. But yeah, there was nothing concerning in there. Oxygen is fine, pulse is fine, and all that. And then, like, sometimes my heart rate would be elevated, but yeah, so then I was in the hospital for like 8 hours, just living my life, I guess. And, yeah, more steroids. Like, at this point, I think I had, like, 4 or 5 steroid pills and antibiotics and all that. And it was, all the rash had, like, started to crust immediately. It was pretty gross. And I could hear people screaming next to me, like, the person on my left was some old lady being like, why am I here? I don't want to be here. Person on my right had a tooth infection. And he was making these weird moaning noises, but then every time his wife was like, you're gonna be okay, he was like, I'm not okay. And so, like, he was well enough to talk, but didn't want to. And finally, after, like, 6 hours, I found a nurse, and they got me, like, some sandwich, they had, like, cheese, tomato, and some meat in it, and it was the best thing I'd ever eaten in my life, because I was so hungry. And then, at, 2 a.m. I got discharged, and basically the consensus is that I had gotten cat scratch disease, and it had turned into staph that I'd gotten on my hands, face, and in my throat somehow, which is not good. And because it was weeping, and if I scratched it, it would weep more, that means it was golden staph, which is really, really not good. So then I kind of, I was feeling a lot better, but, like, sleeping was still pretty impossible. And for, like, a week after, like, my face was slowly getting better, but it wasn't quick enough. When I had the other allergic reaction, it was like, took the antibiotics and within, like, a day, it was almost completely gone. This has just, like, slowly been going away. And so then, because obviously if you have staph on your face, if other things touch it, it's going to go other places. So it got in my eye and I got a sty. And it's still kind of there, but, like, I can't feel it anymore. But, like, if I flip the eyelid, I can see a bump. So then I had to take eye drops for that, and then I had to go back to the doctor, and they're like, yeah, you need even more steroids. So I'm just Arnold Schwarzenegger over here on the roids. I've got so many creams, like, and stuff. Like, this is yesterday morning, my eye was killing me. My face was so incredibly itchy. Now, no itch, just really soft, and there's a few dry patches, but it'll go away. But the amount of creams and ointments and things I'm on, and have been on. I was on one antibiotic that didn't work. Then I was on clindamycin. I'm on prednisolone, which is a steroid, which, first of all, the antibiotic I had to take 9 times a day. That's how serious it was. And the steroid I had to take twice a day, which is crazy. Now it's only once a day, but that's still pretty intense. Then I'm on... Oh, and then I've got hydrocortisone cream. I've got eye drops. I've got 2 other forms of ointment. Look how big this is compared to my head. This is all ointment for my face. Like, how many grams of this? This is almost a kilo. This is 500 grams of ointment, of goo. 500 grams of goo. Yeah, honestly, I'm just like, thank God we're almost over. Any type of skin thing, I can't describe. It is the worst feeling in the world. Like, it's not good. Like, the scratching, like, the itch is bone deep, and it will not go away until you draw blood. That's how itchy it is. It's like, it's awful. And so, and because I've had lots of weird skin things in the past, I know how horrible the feeling is. Like, as a child, I had slap face before they knew what slap face was. And it's, if you don't know what it is, it's like a viral infection on your face, and it's like this, like hand marks. I've had folliculitis, atopic dermatitis, contact dermatitis, allergic reaction to penicillin, cat scratch disease. I always get the quirky, like, problems. I won't go into too much detail, but when I was allergic to penicillin, you can Google this, but if you search Bartholin cyst, that's a different kind of pain. I can't even, it's not safe for work. Google. Not safe to Google. But yeah, I'm recovering. I didn't die. Thank God. So yeah, what have you been up to? Oh man. Yikes. So, I'm still waiting for Jeanette McCurdy's book. I got it for my birthday, but it hasn't come in yet. I'm excited for that. And what else did I get for my birthday? I bought myself Nikes, and I got this tattoo. So, I feel like the best presents here, you get the ones you give to yourself. But, would not recommend the, hospital trip on your birthday. You're 25, go to the hospital. And of course, my battery's flashing at me, which means we'll have to continue this tomorrow, which for you will be in like 5 seconds. So, just stay put. And we're back, and look, we actually have the guest here this time, or the co-host, I should say. And she's gone, just like that. Just not interested. Fair enough. So, shifting gears a bit, something I want to talk about is when the music that you like disappoints you. As in, when a band releases a project you don't like and we're excited for, or just for nostalgic reasons you are hoping to listen to, and it disappoints. So, Panic at the Disco. They were kind of one of the biggest bands of emo culture at the time, in the early 2000s, and first 2 albums have a lot of nostalgia for a lot of fans and people, especially teens in the emo genre back then. And every album consistently gets lower and lower quality as we go on. The last album, I was like, I know he's trying. This album, it's just, there was nothing to say. From now on, I'm going to do my music album reviews on the podcast just because it's easier and it makes more sense, I think. But yeah, there was just nothing to say. I've never had that experience before, really, with music, especially from a band that I like. Every song, it was just repackaged from the last album, like no originality. There was nothing new to say. It was just, it felt weird, like I wasn't prepared, or yeah, I wasn't prepared for the new album to come out. I didn't know he was making new music. And then it comes out and it's just, it's not even, like, it's not bad enough to be bad because there's nothing there. I'm just surprised. I think, honestly, it's, Brendan Urie's probably a bit scared to reinvent himself because first 2 albums, Ryan Ross, former member, he wrote all the lyrics, and then Brendan was just a singer, and now, hello again, Clover. And ever since then, Brendan's been writing lyrics, and I think he's just honestly lost ideas for writing, like he doesn't have much to say. Which is disappointing because there are bands from that era that constantly reinvent themselves, but still in a way where it's attainable from the old audience. Like, perfect example, Paramore. the self-titled album was just one step away from the previous music, it felt like. And then they gave you enough breathing room, so then when After came out, you're like, oh, this is the music I'm ready to listen to for the music that I'm interested now. But it's still Paramore. Speaking of, they finally have new music coming out, which is exciting. But I'm not going to go through every band out there that has done this, but there's a lot of bands from, like, emo era where it's just, like, they don't have anything else, and so they just either repackage everything they've done or go so far out that it is no longer the same band. If you can hear that in the background, Clover is annoying Blaze. Yeah. Oh, completely random in recent news. I was on Twitter this morning, and even just this week, there's been, like, so many I love my wife guy celebrities that have been cheating on their wives. But, Ned from the Try Guys, famously I love my wife guy, caught cheating on his wife with his employee, which is really disheartening. But, this is a guy who famously, on BuzzFeed and on their own channel, was constantly hyping his wife up, the family man, family guy, if you will. And yeah, it's just sad. I'm so happy to see, though, that the other members got rid of him and didn't just stay with him because they're friends with him, you know? That's a common thing with... And she took my boot. Strange dog. No, but famously, if anything happens with a couple, it's always whoever's in the band, TV show, whatever production, they're the good guy and the other person's the bad guy. But it's good to see that this wasn't the case. That's even like Adam Levine, if it's kind of old news now, but he was in girls' Instagram DMs flirting really weirdly and inappropriately, and it's just don't cheat. Like, if you're not happy, leave. Go to therapy with your spouse. Like, it's really easy not to cheat. It's actually one of the most effort you can put in a relationship is to cheat, almost. Clover's just teasing you now. She keeps coming in and out, but she doesn't want to be on camera today. Camera shy. But with the cheating wife thing, that's even, like, throwing it back to the emo conversation. Mikey Way from My Chemical Romance, like, pretty publicly was cheating on his wife with fans, and that's why the band broke up. And then now they're back together, but it was like... I just don't know why you'd bother. Like, you're lonely on the road. I can appreciate that, but what is the point, even now, in 2022, of cheating when you know you're going to get caught? There are cameras everywhere. Twitter is an open app for anyone to use. Like, the receipts will come in, and it's just... it's embarrassing. I can just... Oh, I was just thinking, though, it's even weirder if two people, like, if the couple are both in the band or in the show or whatever, and then there's cheating going on, because that's messy. Because that's what happened with, no doubt, Fleetwood Mac. Honestly, pretty much every band. I mean, the Beatles. John didn't cheat on Paul, but he kind of did. Clover, come here. Come here. No, she's gone again. Come here. No, not interested. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up here today. Sorry that this episode's a bit shorter, but yeah, still recovering, and got to jump back on that horse somehow. So yeah, if you enjoy this podcast, please leave a review and 5 stars, as that's really helpful to promoting the podcast. You can also find me at Tahmorrow on pretty much every social media, and cloverjrt on Instagram for Clover, because once again, she is not on the podcast right now. Thanks so much for joining me again for this episode. I will catch you next time. Bye.